Welcome to Beyond the To-Do List, a podcast about productivity. I'm your host, Eric Fisher, and this is a special Shortcast edition. A Shortcast is a condensed episode brought to you in partnership with Blinkist, the app that delivers key insights from top nonfiction books and podcasts in just 15 minutes. With Blinkist, you can explore more episodes like this one, covering topics like productivity, mindfulness, leadership, personal growth. And after listening to this episode, click the link in the show notes or go to Blinkist.com and start a free trial, and then search for Beyond the To-Do List to find the over 70 plus episodes of Beyond the To-Do List that are in there as shortcasts. You're gonna love them, just like this episode. Hello, I'm your host, Eric Fisher, and welcome to the shortcast of Beyond the To-Do List. In every episode, you'll gain insights from real people on productivity strategies that will allow you to lead a more meaningful life. Digital technology, in the form of social media, apps, and streaming services, are a constant of 21st century life that you can't ignore. So how can you tame its more negative effects and use tech in a positive way?
So people said, I can't ignore this anymore. I really can't ignore how much I am looking at these screens. You can't run away from it all. In fact, you wouldn't want to, because if deployed properly, it could give you these huge boosts to the quality of your life. But you can't also close your eyes to how you use it.
Author Cal Newport knows a lot about how you can harness digital technology for good. In his book, Digital Minimalism, Choosing a Focused Life in a Noisy World, he identifies how a process of digital minimalism can give you renewed purpose and control. At the end of his process, you'll know how to spend your time on what truly matters to you. In this shortcast, you'll hear about Cal's 30-day digital decluttering process, learn how you can impose order on your downloads with positive intention, and find out why embracing the analog world can help you reduce anxiety and be more present in your everyday interactions. Cal's approach to digital minimalism starts with clearing the slate of your digital life and choosing to be more selective about your use of digital media.
So the basic idea to be a digital minimalist is that you're going to clean the slate of these technologies in your personal life. Just clean out the whole proverbial closet, right? All the clothing comes out, the closet is empty, and then you rebuild it from scratch. But this time you do it much more intentionally, saying, I'm only going to add a tool back into my life if I have a very strong rationale for how this is going to help something I really care about. And not only that, even if it passes that test, I'm also going to have some pretty strict rules about when and how I use it to make sure that I'm optimizing the ROI, that I'm getting as many benefits as possible while avoiding as many costs as possible. So that's where the hacks slip back into digital minimalism, but they're being used for a very particular reason. So it's just like when Marie Kondo says, take everything out of your closet and only add back into things that you really like. Digital minimalism says, do the same thing to your smartphone and your desktop, right? Get rid of all of these things you haphazardly downloaded or just signed up for, and then start from scratch. But this time, be much more intentional. What do you really need to use and how are you going to use it? So you're still going to get great benefit out of tech. Minimalists get huge benefits out of tech, but they use a lot less than most people, and they're looking at their screens a lot less than most people. And so their enjoyment of their life is a lot better. So it's bringing intention back to how you interact with these digital tools.
Acting with intention after clearing the slate, only keeping or adding back in what really serves you, allows you to be in control when it comes to digital tools. At the center of Cal's book is the 30-day Digital Declutter. During those 30 days, you'll limit screen time and use of your tech, which serves as a reset that allows you to rebuild your habits and life from the ground up.
And the basic idea here, so this is kind of my core suggestion for how to become a digital minimalist, is you take 30 days. And during those 30 days, you really step away from any of the optional technologies you can in your personal life. And if there's things that overlap work or you can't quite step away from, you put some just pretty tight rules around how and when you use it so that it can't just be a constant background hub in your life. Part of the purpose of the 30 days is, sure, there will be a detox experience at first, in the sense that it does help reduce your compulsive urge to look at screens. And that is important. It's going to be hard to rebuild your digital life if you still feel a compulsive urge to use what was in the old life. So that's important. But the other reason why I say 30 days is it gives you enough time to actually reflect and answer the key questions about, what am I all about? What do I care about? What do I want to spend my time on, especially outside of work? What's important to me? What are my values? To experiment with activities that we used to do before we had ubiquitous access to screens, so that when you get to the end of the 30 days and you say, what am I letting in and why? You have a foundation on which to actually answer those questions. Because if you're answering those questions of, I'm letting this back in because it really helps this, but I'm not letting this back in because it doesn't really help something I care about. If you're not really convinced that these are the things that are important to you, your answers aren't going to stick. And so I pitched this declutter, and I do call it a declutter instead of a detox, because it's like you're cleaning everything out of your house essentially for good, and you're getting back in touch with what matters to you. And then when it's all over, you can then carefully start repopulating the proverbial shelves, but you're able to do so now from a really grounded perspective. You know what you're about, and you're putting these things to work for making your life better, which to me is self-evident. How else would you want to use these tools except for to make, a good life even better? That seems like self-evidently the right thing to do. So the surprising thing to me is that we've gotten so far away from that, and that we instead often use these tools as a bit of an escape or a crutch. We don't have to deal with what we want to do with our life, what's important, what's not, what's the right way to use our time. We don't have to deal with that if we could instead just click watch next episode or swipe down one more swipe on the endless scroll of Twitter.
The next step Cal wants you to take is to spend more time in the analog world and with your own thoughts and feelings. Digital minimalism can be a great way to reconnect with your inner self. As you spend less time on devices, you can now build in time for regular periods of solitude.
So if you don't get solitude, for example, if you don't get just time alone with your own thoughts, or you don't have stimuli, and if you miss these type of activities you mentioned that were evolved to crave, namely real world analog interaction with other humans and physical leisure activity, or physical activities where essentially you can see your will instantiated in the world. So this thing is broken. I use my hands. This thing is fixed. Okay, it turns out a big part of our species' success is that we could do that. We could have a thought, and then we can make that thought instantiated in the world by manipulating the world with our hands. Our brain really needs that. It gets weirded out when all it's doing is looking at a computer screen. It doesn't think about like a clean compile of computer code or a funny tweet. It doesn't think about that as the same way that it thinks about, I made a spear. And so we need that. So when you're doing real world activity, real world interaction, and solitude, these are three things that we absolutely need through evolution. Just the human species needs these three things in good proportions. When you replace that all with just looking at a screen and constant stimuli, in addition to losing your ability to focus, you get anxious. And so we have this background hub of anxiety through our whole culture that we're just becoming used to, and just being like, I guess we're an anxious culture. It's actually because our brain's not getting what it needs. It'd be like if we're all walking around tired. Like, I guess, we just live in a tired culture. That someone said, wait a second, we're not sleeping. You could say, I guess that's the problem. We need sleep. That would stop us from being tired. Well, getting these real world activities, solitude, conversation in the real world with real people, and doing physical activities, if you take those away, the brain gets really anxious. It gets really unhappy. It gets really jumpy. It gets touchy. And so there's a lot more, in other words, there's a lot more consequences to this lifestyle than just the professional consequences. Our mental health in general is at stake when we let the screen push all of these other more fundamentally human activities off to the side.
Implementing digital minimalism in your life is an incredibly powerful tool, as it allows you to take stock and refocus on what really matters. By acting on Cal's suggestions, you can learn how to have a meaningful, mindful, and balanced relationship with technology, one that supports rather than harms. The results on your physical and mental well-being are tangible and can help you be more present in your daily life. If you enjoyed this shortcast of Beyond the To-Do List, you can listen to other episodes, such as my talk with Joshua Becker on how to declutter your physical space as well as your digital life. I'm Eric Fisher, and thanks for listening to this shortcast of Beyond the To-Do List.